Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, my supermarket delivery has just arrived, and I've just finished unpacking it from the crates into plastic bags. Because here in the UK we are supposedly environmentally friendly, the supermarket won't give us bags. So they just arrive with crates, and I have to do the unpacking into my own bags and then take those to the kitchen to unpack them. It's a little bit uncomfortable because I have to be on the floor unpacking the crates, whereas the man who delivers the food has no responsibility to help me. It seems a rather odd situation, but the supermarket's idea is that, well, if you were in the supermarket, you would be packing your own bags. So it's the same experience, but at your front door. Personally, I don't like it. There's a little bit of an imbalance of power because I'm on the floor on my hands and knees while the person who delivers the food is standing looking at me and not helping. I wonder how disabled people cope with this because they wouldn't be able to get onto the floor to unpack. So I'm sure there must be a system for that, but I haven't been able to find it yet. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about our Prime Minister's residence. That's right. I want to tell you a little bit about number 10 Downing Street. Now, on the media, you might hear them simply referring to number 10. Number 10 said this, number 10 said that, number 10 have issued a statement. And this is because our Prime Minister's office is at number 10, and his official residence is on the top, which is a very small, modest apartment. Having said all of that, it is a very small, modest apartment, but he usually lives on the apartment above number 11. So number 11 Downing Street is the official office of our finance minister, the Chancellor, and he has an apartment above which the Prime Minister can ask him to vacate if he wants to move in. Some of our older Prime Ministers actually had the apartments in numbers 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. He must have had a lot of children. I don't know. For security reasons, I don't know if these apartments are actually linked. I don't know if you can walk through from number 10 to number 11 to number 12 to number 13. Of course, they won't tell us exactly what it looks like or what the plan is because, of course, it would be a security risk. There have been rumors that underneath Downing Street there is a metro system which links onto our London tube network, the London metro system. I don't know if that's true. I have heard rumors that there's some kind of line there, so in the event of an emergency, the metro system has a branch line which goes all the way to Downing Street and then all the way to Buckingham Palace for the royals. But I can't imagine that. I mean, I can't imagine the royals and the Prime Minister standing on a metro train. It's difficult to know exactly what they do, but I'm sure they have a lot of security. One thing I can tell you about Downing Street is that up until 1989, there weren't any gates there. So the public could walk down Downing Street, knock on the door, and ask questions about politics. And there would always be someone there to speak with you. I remember as a child going down Downing Street, just looking around. But since 1989, that has not been possible. Many people don't like that, and when the gates went up in 1989, there were major protests around London. Many people felt that it meant the government was inaccessible, and some people felt they were actually breaking the law because our streets are public. You can go anywhere you want, so they shouldn't really be able to stop us walking down Downing Street. Having said all of that, they used anti-terror laws to block it off. So there was a real threat, I think, from a terrorist attack. So they sealed it, and now we're no longer allowed to go down Downing Street. Sometimes the media pick up in this story. I remember back in 2006, and also more recently, the media started talking about why we aren't allowed in, why we can't walk down a street in London. And again, we were reminded that it's not because the street is off limits, it's because of terrorist attacks and the possibility of one, and there's special legislation they can use to seal off any place that might be at risk. But it is controversial. I want to tell you a little bit about when they were put up, these gates, when they were put up. They were put up in Christmas of 1989. And there were many protests at that time because having the right to walk up to your leader's house was being denied. And it wasn't the first time that it had been barricaded. It had happened a few times in history. But this time, these barriers, these gates, seem permanent. So it gives us the feeling that the government isn't accessible. And many people think that it's really inaccessible, and that means that they lose votes. When Tony Blair became Prime Minister, he wanted to remove these gates, and they were almost gone. But then he was told about an IRA mortar attack in 1991, and he was advised to leave the gates and leave them up. But over the years, these gates have become focal points for protests. Sometimes people have tried to climb over them, have tried to knock them down, and these gates, of course, protect Downing Street. The door for meeting famous people has gates to deal with people who are rioting. If you ever do want to visit Downing Street, you can, but you can't get inside it. You can only get as far as the gates. And some people go and complain about their legal right to walk down Downing Street, but the policeman, who will have a gun, will very quickly turn you away. So whether you like it or not, there's no way in to Downing Street. That's a very far cry from the past. We use the expression far cry when we talk about something which is a distance in history. Oh, that's a far cry from the way things used to be, for example. Downing Street today has many notable residents. Now, it's not a big street. Part of it has been demolished. But we have the Prime Minister's residence in number 10. We have the Chancellor in number 11. In number 12, well, that was the Chief Whip's office. The Chief Whip is a person in Parliament for controlling the party. That was their residence. Number 13, I think, is gone. It was renumbered because the street has gone through many changes. Number 14 was used by the War Office and other government departments. I don't know what they do with it now. Number 9 is the press briefing office where the media are taken. Number 15 to 20 Downing Street had the Foreign Office in it at one point, but I think it's been knocked down now. And then it leads up at the end to create Downing Square. And there used to be a pub there, but that's long gone as well. So it is indeed a far cry from the way it used to be. Our Prime Minister Gladstone in 1881 took the apartments 10, 11 and 12 for himself and his family. Tony Blair, of course, was married with kids, so he lived in number 11 in the apartment above, which is much bigger than the apartment in number 10. And more recently, as you probably know, Boris Johnson got into trouble for decorating the apartment using a lot of money. And there were questions about where that money came from. During a coalition government, that's where two parties take power together. Usually one lives at number 10 and the other lives at number 11. So they can both be living in the same building, more or less. I'm guessing there must be a way to move through these apartments and these buildings. I'm not sure if it's actually possible. Of course, they don't tell us very much for security reasons, but there are a few things which people speak about. Recently, I heard a story that underneath Downing Street there is actually a metro line, so in case of emergencies they can escape, and that metro line goes round to Buckingham Palace and picks up the royals if there's any problems. I haven't had that confirmed, but that's certainly a rumor which is going around. Also, the fact that the door of number 10 Downing Street has different ways to open. It opens left to right, but it can also open right to left. I think it's a security measure, so they change it regularly. So we know some things about their security, but we don't know everything, of course, because that would breach whatever security they have. So I only know little bits about it. I know now that if you want to go there, you have to go through a security checkpoint. And the street is patrolled by police from their unit, which is called the Diplomatic Protection Group. And there's always one police officer outside the door of number 10, as well as the gate. So I hope that gives you some kind of insights into how our leaders live. That's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.